What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel DeMita, and welcome to the Courtside Club. Today, I have some Project B basketball updates for you guys, and I actually had a chance to talk to somebody who works very closely with Project B, and so they were able to answer some of my questions, clear up some of the reports that are going around online, and also give me some inside information. So I want to update you guys there. They also just signed Alyssa Thomas to Project B. And how does this affect the WNBA and Unrivaled? There's so much to go over today, so let's jump right in. And I want to start with the hottest topic surrounding Project B, and that is the fact that it was reported that Project B was a Saudi-funded basketball league. So per my source today, they said with full conviction that there is no Saudi funding going into Project B. The only ties that they have to something that could be related to Saudi Arabia is the fact that they are hiring the company Sela to put on their events. Now, Sela, like we talked about in my last video, is a PIF company, which is a public investment fund company that is a public investment fund of Saudi Arabia. So this Project B basketball league is hiring Sela, so they are paying Sela to put on their events. Now, when I did some more digging into Sela, I thought it was quite interesting because I looked at their portfolio and they have done things like Boulevard City and Boulevard World. And I'm not sure if you guys watched my vlog from when I went to Saudi Arabia. Boulevard City and Boulevard World are insane. Like, actually insane. The kind of production, the lights, it's basically like an amusement park on steroids. There's like games, lights, rides. I went to the Harry Potter world. If they are hiring this company to put on their events, the kind of stuff that this Sela company has created is next level. It's actually next level. So I kind of see what they're doing here. Now, you can have your thoughts on whether you think that they should be outsourcing a company like Sela. My source also told me that Sela's headquarters just got moved to London, but again, they're still a PIF company. They're still part of the public investment fund in Saudi. You guys can have your opinions on that, however you feel about that, but I just wanted to clear that up per my source that I'm taking as truth because they work very closely with Project B. There is no Saudi Arabian funding that is coming into this league. Now, they do have some very, very big time investors, and it seems like the majority of these investments are coming from the tech world. It's a lot of tech bros getting involved in this. And one of the biggest things, one of the other realizations that I had in this conversation is that one of their main focuses for this Project B basketball league is the streaming component of it. It's not just something where it's going to have a streaming partner with like an ESPN or a Fox. And again, I'm paraphrasing here. It seems like with Project B, they're creating their own streaming service to where people around the world can watch these basketball games. Think of something like YouTube. If in most countries, you can be on YouTube, so you can connect globally on YouTube. Think of if it's an app or a streaming service similar to that, where wherever these women are going to play, everybody around the world can watch these games. You can tune in at any time. So, if there is a game going on in Japan, yes, us in the States might have to watch that at 3 a.m. or something. But if you're in Japan, you would be able to watch it there, and everybody could be tuned in to the games at the very same time on this streaming platform. That is something that I feel like hasn't been highlighted, and that seems to be one of the biggest priorities of this basketball league is the streaming and the tech behind it. Now, if you look at the people who are involved in Project B, all of them have come from the tech world, and they have built big companies in that world. So it's founded by a former Facebook executive, Grady Burnett, and Skype co-founder, Jeff Prentice. So these guys come from Facebook and Skype, which were two very successful tech companies. And so it seems like the tech side of this basketball league is also of utter importance to them. And I want to read you a quote from Burnett. He said, "I come from a tech lens. I was at Google when we bought YouTube. I was at Facebook when we bought Instagram. If you think about the growth of those platforms, it was about distribution and engagement before monetization. It really is focusing on eyeballs. We live in a world where streaming, where social media, where Web3 are prominent. You have to think about all of those pieces of oxygen that help grow the platform. The key, Burnett believes, is a focus on eyeball distribution and engagement are really the core. There's lots of ways to drive that by making frictionless availability to watch these games in various regions, playing in time zones that are friendly to other people around the world, and making sure highlights are seen across platforms." He goes on to say, beyond in-game highlights, Project B hopes to develop the individual players' brands off-court as well in a manner similar to Drive to Survive or exploding TikTok style short form content. So I also wanted to highlight something that he said here, because this is something that I asked my source. I was like, how do you guys expect to kind of make money off of this right away? You know, because one of the biggest reasons why the WNBA is claiming that they cannot pay their players is because they haven't brought in revenue. And the WNBA has been around for nearly 30 years. Like, at this point in time, they should be turning a profit. They should be bringing in money. And my source tells me, you know what? The guys who created the companies that they created, or the worlds that they come from, like, they don't profit for sometimes well over a decade. So like I said in my first video about Project B, it doesn't seem like they are worried about profiting and making money right away. It's all about the visibility of the league and about the platform. And like he said here, it's about distribution and engagement before monetization. So like I told you guys, even if you look at a Live PGA situation, and again, Live is Saudi funded, Live is not bringing in the kind of eyeballs that the PGA Tour is bringing in, but these guys are still getting paid. Like, their checks are still cashing, okay? And the investors in Live and the people who are behind Live are still all in to make this league work. What I also think is super interesting is that when Project B was first announced, and it was probably like 9 months ago at this point, Maverick Carter was a part of this Project B basketball league. And the biggest thing was like, oh, they're making a league to rival the WNBA and also rival the NBA. There was a men's and a women's component to it. Now, since Maverick Carter has left the mix of this Project B, they seem to only be focusing on women's basketball. However, in all the quotes that I'm seeing from what my sources are telling me, there is still a men's component to this basketball. I don't know how that works out. Like, to be honest, I have no clue how you get men's basketball players into Project B unless you focus on international players or college players, because the NBA truly has a monopoly when it comes to professional basketball players. And also, the NBA is starting up NBA Europe in 2027. Like, that is the date that is circled for that league to be starting up. And so the NBA truly has a grasp on professional basketball worldwide. I don't see how Project B gets professional players to play in this league unless there's like insane money on the table. But even if you look at the guys who play in the NBA, like, their contracts are already hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't think that there's any competing with the NBA. Now, if it becomes something where men's basketball players don't go to college, like LaMelo Ball or whatever, he went and played overseas professionally. He didn't go play college and then he went to play in the NBA. If Project B becomes another outlet for men's college basketball to not play in college, then I could see that being a thing. But it was made very clear to me that they're still developing and they are still working on having a men's component, but they are rolling this out with the women first. And just this week, you guys, it was announced that Alyssa Thomas will be joining Project B. She is the second women's basketball player who was announced to be joining this league. Now, we know that Project B is eyeing 66 players for this league. There will be 6 teams of 11 players. They will play from November to April. That's a long season, you guys, by the way. I also found that out today. So November until April. The WNBA season ends in October, and the WNBA season, I think training camp starts in April and then the season starts in May. So that's pretty much the entire WNBA offseason. And I do want to talk about how Project B could affect the WNBA. But anyway, Alyssa Thomas has signed on to Project B, and why this caused quite a stir online is because Alyssa Thomas is currently playing in Unrivaled, or she's currently signed on to play in Unrivaled for this upcoming season. And I'm not sure if hers was like a multi-year deal. I know that some players in Unrivaled have multi-year deals, but a lot of people were saying like, wait, how is this gonna work? She's signed up for Unrivaled. Is she leaving Unrivaled after this season and going to play in Project B? How many more players from Unrivaled will follow Alyssa Thomas's lead and go play in Project B? Because clearly they have more money. And at the end of the day, you guys, like, when we've been talking about these CBA negotiations, it seems like at the end of the day, these players just want to be paid. They just want to be paid. And it looks like players are going to go to the highest bidder. At this point in time, it doesn't seem like anybody can compete with Project B. They are getting, reportedly, 7-figure salaries, okay? And I'm sure that that number will go up big time for players like Caitlin Clark. And we don't know yet if they've made her an offer, but I'm sure like you would be absolutely crazy for Project B to not go after Caitlin Clark. Like, we talked about this ages ago. I was like, if Project B gets Caitlin Clark, it's wraps. Now, we've also heard recently that they're trying to say that Project B won't actually be a rival league to the WNBA because it's during the off season. But let me set up a scenario for you guys. So say you're playing in a basketball league that's paying you $70,000 to play from May until October. You're getting $70,000 to play in that league, but you know that after October, you are going to go to this other league that starts in November that's paying you $2 million to play from November to April. So why would you expend all of your energy? Why would you risk injury playing in a league that's paying you $70,000 from May until October if you knew that in November you were going to make $2 million and that contract could continue for many, many years and you would also have equity in this league? Why would you risk your body and risk your energy to play during the WNBA season? Does that make sense? And we also saw this with Sabrina Ionescu in the Unrivaled season. If you remember, there was an interview that Sabrina Ionescu did during Unrivaled where she was basically like, yeah, I'm just making sure I don't get hurt and like keeping my body fresh for the WNBA season. Sabrina played like 60% during that Unrivaled season. Like Sabrina did not play like Sabrina during Unrivaled. I think that we can all agree to that. She did not exert all of her effort because she was making sure that she was fresh and that she would be ready to go for the WNBA season. That's going to cause some real issues with the WNBA because, like, think about this. You could go play in Project B and make seven figures, make whatever, and then you would have your summers off. Then you could come back to the States and go to Miami and just literally hang out during the summer months. Like, the WNBA season is during the summer. They don't have like a summer vacation. They get a winter vacation. Are they going to go to Project B, play from November until April, and then have May to October to just enjoy their summer? I feel like a lot of players might be interested in that. And it's also crazy to me how I feel like WNBA players have gone completely full circle. The biggest gripe for WNBA players for the longest time was that they didn't want to go overseas during the off season. They wanted to stay home. And so Nafisa and Breanna Stewart, they created this league where you can stay home, you can stay in the States, you can trade in the United States of America during the off season. You can play 3v3, you can make good money and you don't have to go anywhere. And now people are jumping from Unrivaled to go into Project B, which is essentially sending them back overseas, but they're getting paid a lot of money. So it's just very interesting how Unrivaled kind of spun this whole narrative of like, we made a league where you could stay home. Everybody wants to stay home. Nobody wants to be overseas. And then Project B is like, we want to make it global. We're going to be overseas the whole time. And players like, yep, you're paying a lot. Let me go do that. Something else I thought was interesting is that one of the co-founders of Project B, they basically said that they want to create social content and they want to do more short form content when they travel to these cities around the world. Now, I do think that that will help them with their individual brands and kind of meeting other fans and this and that, especially if Caitlin Clark is there, because obviously so many people will be drawn in to this league. However, I'm here for the basketball. I'm truly here for the basketball. I know Unrivaled did a lot of really cool things on social media and they do the tunnel walks and they do the cool commercials and their branding and everything is really amazing. But if the basketball is not good, people will not be watching. So I do think with all of this, like, it sounds like they're trying to put on an amazing show. They're trying to create this new streaming platform. But my advice to Project B is make sure the basketball on the court is good, because fans, believe it or not, they care about the basketball more than they care about anything else. And I was actually going to make a whole video about this because I feel like women's basketball in general has lost sight of the sport in a way, because so many people care about things outside of the sport, and you truly will never grow the game if people can't come to appreciate the game. Like, all of the extracurricular things are amazing for the players, but at the end of the day, like, me as somebody who enjoys basketball and enjoys watching sports, and the reason that I enjoy Caitlin Clark's game is because I enjoy watching her play basketball. Like, she was golfing today. That's super cool and amazing for her, and I'm glad that she got that opportunity. I don't care to watch Caitlin Clark golf, and that's okay. Some people do. Some people want to watch anything that Caitlin Clark's doing. I don't care to watch her play golf. I care to watch her play basketball, and that's how I feel about all of the women in the WNBA. And one of the biggest gripes from fans is like, the WNBA isn't putting a good product on the court. The refereeing is bad. Like, we've been over it for the entire season. And so I think that's something when it comes to Unrivaled, it was really hard for me to get into Unrivaled because it's 3v3 full court on a shortened court. It wasn't the greatest basketball to me. I have to be honest. I tried to get into it. I gave it a few shots. I'll probably give it another shot this season, but I'm not going to stick around for something if the basketball isn't good. And so I hope with Project B, not only do, they have the lights, camera, action, and all the fun things around it, they have to put a good product on the court. So I hope that they have people in place. And, Candace Parker is there. She's someone who was like hardcore hoops. Elena Bearder's there. Again, hardcore hoops. I used to watch Elena Beard when she played in college. But it's like, I hope that they have those people in place to make sure that the basketball is top notch. Because for any of these leagues to be successful, that has to be the number one priority. But that's my rant on that, you guys. Things are getting crazy. And I do feel like this story would be so much bigger if it was a men's sport. I think for some reason, people don't understand like what is really going on. Right now, you have the WNBA players in the middle of CBA negotiations when the WNBA, the Premier League, which has been the Premier League for nearly 30 years, and we have to give them credit for that. This league has said, we don't want these players playing in off-season leagues. You have Unrivaled. You have 2 WNBPA committee members at the negotiations table who founded Unrivaled, this 3v3 league. The WNBA says we don't like Unrivaled. We don't want our players playing in off-season leagues. They're not backing down to that. And then on the flip side, you have Neko Gumake going to Project B, which Project B at this point in time, they have the upper hand over any of these leagues, including EuroLeague, because they have the most money. And so you have such a crossroads right here. And I truly do not know what's going to happen. I really don't, you guys. I don't have a prediction at all. I think the WNBA and the players would be crazy to lock out next season. I think it would kill so much momentum. And I think you need that momentum even for these other 2 leagues. But I do think Project B coming into the mix, signing some of these players, already seeing Alyssa Thomas sign with Project B, the people at Unrivaled are probably shaking in their boots a little bit, because what does this mean for Unrivaled? And Unrivaled is getting all of these younger players, like they're trying to sign these college players. We had Hannah Hidalgo on the show. She talked about joining Unrivaled. They're signing them on for the future, but you mean to tell me that these younger players won't get out of that contract as quick as they possibly can if Project B slides a couple $1 million contract across the table? It's a wild story. I'm going to continue to cover it for you guys. I'm sorry if this video was all over the place, but I did get some new information today. And I also wanted to clear it up because I have been somebody who has been a pure skeptic on this Saudi backing thing. But from my source today, they said there is no Saudi backing. They are working with this company, but they are outsourcing them. So do with that information what you guys want. I'm going to stop rambling at this point in time, but please let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. Thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it. Click that little subscribe button because we upload new videos every single week. And if you are watching my video on mobile, you can hype this video by going to the comment section, swiping to the left, and then clicking that little hype button. That really helps me in the algorithm. So if you guys wouldn't mind doing that, I would very much appreciate it. And with all of that, you guys, I'll see you next time. Ooh, Anna.